This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Nice strike! Oh, better than nice!
Let's get ready to rumble!
Salam and welcome to the Halftime Show with Omar Duri. I am your host, covering everything sport, international, local. Shout out to everyone who's tuned in around the world, whether it's 95 FM, Pulse95Radio.com, our app, Sharjah Broadcasting Authority, or even if you're checking us out on YouTube live on the streaming, Pulse 95 Radio is here to stay. And what a show we have in store for you today. I'll tell you one thing I haven't had enough of, and that is sleep. How important is the role of sleep in performance? Are we getting on average the hours required, and how the pandemic has increased or decreased sleep during quarantine? We discussed that today. Now, I'm a bit of a romantic when it comes down to sport. So listen, I'm going to take you to a place hopefully you haven't seen before, and that is basically Newcastle United. Newcastle United, Abdul Karim's favorite team from the morning Majlis, is under the spotlight today, and I'll tell you why. There's been a lot of talk about the ownership. There's been a lot of talk about whether they're going to be taken over. And now, what I'm going to do is take you there. Whether it happens or not, you're going to be here with me on the Halftime Show discussing what if it does get taken over, who will be leading them, what kind of changes will they make, what kind of transfers will they be making. And that is where we have some fun today. We're also talking about the ugly side of social media, which recently has got a lot of, let's say, talk, especially, regarding Wilfried Zaha, Ian Wright. A lot of people from athletes have faced verbal abuse on social media from people who are as young as 12 years old. Education is something we're talking about on the show, and we're also answering all your questions. Shout out to Mavish, Ala, Isa, Spicy, and everyone else who's tuned in. Nejla as well. Everyone else is tuning on live Instagram at Omar Duri, Pulse 95 Radio. Guys, buckle up. It's about to happen right after this. Enjoy. See you in a bit.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al Duri on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Al Duri. I'm your host, covering everything sport, international, local. Hope you're having a blessed day wherever you're tuned in live on the YouTube. Shout out to my YouTube friends out there who are tuned in. And listen, a special happy birthday to my cousin, my brother, and my best friend, Yassine Kamil. What a legend. If you don't know, the man behind Al-Alami, the international movie based on football, Egypt and Algeria, and also had a huge part in Bilal the animation. So listen, my bro, happy birthday to you. I'm going to check out and see which camera I'm talking to, but happy birthday to you. He tunes in from Egypt all the time. Now, what I'm going to talk about is the ugly side of social media. Now, we do sometimes talk about social media in the sense that it has such a good positive thing when you can lift people, when you can communicate, when you can connect with people all around the world from a click of a button. However, there is an ugly side, and it has been brought out recently in the media, and it happens to be really, really frustrating for me because I've kind of been on the side of that, and I kind of understand that just because you're an athlete or a coach or just a human being and you get abused verbally, it can really be painful. Wilfried Zaha was on the end of that recently, and it really was shocking to understand what was happening. And basically, Zaha wanted action against an online racial abuser, all right, someone who came on board. The shocking thing about this story is the person was 12 years old who was abusing Wilfried Zaha. Wilfried Zaha is English African athlete, and a 12-year-old boy was arrested on Sunday after the Ivory Coast International highlighted racist abuse he received ahead of Palace versus Aston Villa. It's, you know what, it's so sad because that 12-year-old boy, and I say boy, he's not even a man yet, is abusing someone and is taking the time out to do that. Now, when you get to a certain age, you've got to really take responsibility and hold yourself accountable. This 12-year-old went out of his way to abuse an athlete. Forget even if it's not an athlete, just a human being. And I really feel that humanity needs to take note of these things, with what's going on and everyone that's going through what they're going through with their own challenges. To have that is just awful. Wilfried Zaha went onto social media to say, very disappointed we didn't get a better result yesterday, but I wanted to come on here to thank you all for your messages of support. I would also like to thank West Midlands Police for their swift action in making an arrest. People need to understand that whatever your age, that your behavior and your words come with consequences, and you cannot hide behind social media. It's important social media platforms do as they did yesterday and seek out these individuals and remove them. This is not the first time I've received messages like this, nor am I the only player to receive messages like this. It happens every day. I want to thank everyone for their love and support. With all this that's happening, again, we got to always remember that with these athletes, you might not like the team, you might not like, what their style of play or however they are as athletes, but getting abused online or even any sort of abuse, physical, emotional, verbal, that stuff needs to be eradicated. And that's the thing that, for me, that struck me with this. When I read this article, I thought, you know what, normally the halftime show is about positivity and empowerment and development and trying to get into the mindset and the different perspectives on health, fitness, sports, life. I just wasn't too keen on this whole situation because it was a 12-year-old, but that should not excuse what was I doing at 12? Definitely not abusing people. And this 12-year-old went out of his way to abuse and got arrested as well. So a lack of education probably for this boy himself. But what do you guys think? Text us on 4215 Itasalat or slide into our DMs. What do you think about this article? It was honestly very, very shocking, very surprising to be hearing that. Now, guys, the topic of the day today is how to improve sleep and whether you are actually getting the average hours required. Now, the importance of sleep, especially in the 5-domino system, is so important because it affects everything else. Now, are you getting more or less hours sleep since the pandemic hit? We're talking about that today. Slide into the DMs at Omar Al-Duri or text us on 4215 and let me know. And coming up next, now I'm a bit of a romantic when it comes to sport. Newcastle United under the spotlight. Newcastle United fans, I'm going to be talking about your club. There's a lot of things going on today, and there's a lot of times that we feel we don't get the attention we require. People don't listen as much. And it could be anyone. By the way, coaches, trainers, presidents, they go through mental health as well. So I'm going to let you think about that for later. But for now, listen to this. We're going to be right back after this on the only place to be at 3, the halftime show on Pulse 95.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show and we are back. Shout out to Fahad, Marvish, Tariq, Laka. Everyone is tuned in. Fahad's actually tuned in, doing his cardio and listening to me on the Halftime Show on Pulse 95. Man, and as spicy, yes, Hassan just said now, the only place to be at 3 on the Halftime Show with me. So listen, guys, I'm going to need your help on this. We've got a couple of things I want to talk about, and what I want to talk about today is, as I said to you before, I'm a kind of a romantic when it comes to sport. You know, I like those fairy tales that, you know, sometimes you can kind of visualize something and it comes true. I'm not one of those people that says, oh, of course, that's a movie. When it happens in real life, I love it. Now, Newcastle United, shout out to Abdul Kareem, who's probably one of the very few Newcastle fans I know out there from the Morning Majlis. Newcastle United had been under the spotlight. Why? Because they were going to get taken over. They're not really happy with their owner. I'll try and break it down for you, the story, so you can kind of get where I'm coming from. Mike Ashley is their owner currently. The fans don't like him. They have the best fans in the Premier League in any sport, okay? In any sport. These fans show up to support their team week in, week out, and they don't win titles, they don't win cup competitions, they're just passionate fans. And if anyone knows the Geordies, they're very, very passionate, okay? So now, the romantic in me here sees a Manchester City scenario before the UAE took over Manchester City. They never used to win things. Now they're one of the best in Europe. A long-term vision, an infrastructure to compete with the top 6. In fact, I'll even go as far as saying Leicester City won the league with what some may consider fringe players. What's amazing about that story, and I'm sure they'll make a movie about this, is when you have hard-working players rather than just talent, and you put them together in a team, and they function the way they do, and they build each other up. I love that, okay? And so, with that, I'm kind of looking at this whole story and thinking, just imagine, if Newcastle got taken over tomorrow, the deal goes through, they get in a technical director, and now they start to purchase Premiership proven players. I'm not talking about the Neymars and the Mbappes, Mbappe, Ronaldo, and Messi. I'm talking about realistic, hard-working players that have had some experience in Europe at least, and especially in the Premier League. So let's have a look at a couple of players that could sign for Newcastle United. Now, if I'm looking at the teams that are getting relegated, for example, Norwich, Villa, and probably Bournemouth. Sorry about that. If I'm looking at those players and I wanted to take players from that to kind of build and put together a team, a puzzle to be able to get these guys going. If I looked at Norwich, Max Aarons, right back. Prospect, love him. I think he's going to be a future England right back. Then you've got Cantwell, not everyone's cup of tea, but very, very good. Again, part of the golden generation. Todd Cantwell in the middle. You got Pookie in up front. Now we're looking at Aston Villa. Grealish has been linked with all the big clubs. He would definitely be someone, if they get relegated, a step up to Newcastle with new owners, with a new technical director, and with a new manager, which we'll be talking about in a bit. Tyrone Mings, not just because he's a friend of mine or a friend of the show's, but Tyrone Mings in the centre of that defence at Newcastle would be top. Now we're looking at teams like Bournemouth, and we look at Nathan Ake, who's been in and out of Chelsea, very, very good defender, part of the Dutch system. Wilson up front, Brooks. Okay, now we're going to talk stars. I know you like your stars, so I'm going to talk stars. The players that are going to be at the end of their contract this year are going to be Willian from Chelsea, who's been killing it so far in the league. Wilfred Ndidi might not be at the end of his contract, but he's someone that I would definitely try and get. You've got Edison Cavani, PSG, especially if he's number one striker at Newcastle. Woo. Talking about PSV, Thiago Silva at the back. These are all players, when you look at them, you think, wow, that might be someone that can do something. Ryan Fraser has already stopped playing for Bournemouth. That's another one. So I'm looking at all these players and thinking, all right, if we put these in a team, now it gives me that kind of Leicester vibe. If I can put those players in the team and they've already had the experience, and I add one or two players, and when I say one or two players, like Memphis Depay, Pope from Burnley, the goalkeeper, Henderson from Sheffield United, if he doesn't get that first spot at United, sorry United fans, sorry Spicy, if he doesn't get that spot at United, because De Gea has obviously been paid a lot of money, that's someone. Danny Ings, Southampton, one of the top scorers. Can you imagine if he went to Newcastle? Now, guys, I've given you some players. Start to put them in and see where you could go. Now, of course, players would be great, but nothing would be great without a great manager. Newcastle haven't really embraced, Steve Bruce, which is kind of harsh. I kind of feel bad for him, because he's a top manager, he's a top coach. So I'd probably say Rafa Benitez to be installed as Newcastle manager again with a new project and some funds. Hey, listen, that fairy tale that I was talking about might just happen. Now, of course, I would love to see Pochettino there in a couple of years, but now I'll give it to Benitez. And you know why? Because it's my dream, right? So I want you guys to work with me. Ownership has always been something that's been a problem at Newcastle. With new owners, especially owners that invest, and we know how the Middle East love their football. You see the Arab owners all over the European leagues. Now, let's put the ball in your court. If you were in charge, how would you change the club realistically, and what players would you use to make Newcastle great again? I've given you a couple already. I want to hear from you. 4215 at the slot, or slide into my DMs at Omar Al Duri on Pulse 95. And listen, guys, coming up next, you want to stay for this. How important is the role of sleep when it comes down to performance, when it comes down to life? How many hours are we getting on average? Has the pandemic increased or decreased your sleep during quarantine? All this and more on the only place to be at 3, the Halftime Show on Pulse 95.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Adori. I gotta say, I'm so happy. I got a text message. You guys might not think that's a big deal, but normally I'm live on the Instagram at Omar Al-Duri and also on the YouTube as well, which we don't really have comments on there. But when I do get a message, man, I get so happy. And I'm going to read it out. You know why? Because this guy is super nice, man. He says, "Hey, Omar, I just want to say what a lovely show you're giving, and I'm enjoying every bit of it. Thank you for all these interesting topics. All the best, bro." I think that's Hassan. So shout out to Hassan. Thank you very much. And shout out to Rania from the Morning Majlis, Hani Balkhis from Future Talk, Umnia from Future Talk, everyone who is tuned in on the Instagram Live. Nejla, of course, Marvish, Spicy, Tariq, Fatima Al-Duri, the Queen, my mum. I know it wasn't her who messaged because it said best bro. So, hey, mum, there's someone else that likes me too. Right, okay. How important is the role of sleep in performance, and are we getting on average the hours required? Has the pandemic increased or decreased your sleeping during quarantine? I'll tell you one thing, my sleep is awful, and that's something that I've kind of struggled with for a while. I actually had a guest called Rose O'Donovan, who is an educator here in the UAE, fantastic trainer and coach as well. And her specialty is breathing. Now, one of the things she said to me at the time, which was really interesting because she's my coach basically when it comes to breathing, is she said, Omar, if you tape your mouth when you're asleep, yeah, that's right. If you tape your mouth while you're asleep, it'll actually help regulate your breathing because you're breathing through your nose. Rose, I trust Rose. So if someone ever saw me sleeping and saw me with some tape on my mouth, it's not so I can keep my mouth shut. It's basically so I can improve my breathing. So if you haven't tried it, make sure you try that out. Now, sleep can play such an integral role in everyday performance. Now, sleep is important because for various aspects of brain function and the way we process things, concentration, productivity, and performance, all these are negatively affected by sleep deprivation. So sleep affects your body's inflammatory responses. So if you train a lot, and sometimes that could be for you and sometimes could be against you. Poor sleep is linked to inflammatory bowel disease and can increase your risk of disease reoccurrence. When I start to look at things, especially when sleep, when I start to study what's going on out there, I always think of, the role that hormones play, and cortisol is definitely one of them. Now, exploring the connection between training, nutrition, and sleep through a hormone called cortisol is very interesting because there's always something I don't know out there, and I'm always intrigued by it. Cortisol is a hormone produced by the adrenal glands that is highly involved in your stress response. It helps to regulate your metabolism, your blood sugar levels, your blood pressure, your immune system, and your sleep to awake cycle, because that's the way that we sleep sometimes. Sometimes you get into a deep sleep, sometimes it's kind of light, so that's something else to keep in mind. Now, under normal or healthy situations, cortisol is produced in a circadian rhythm where levels peak in the early morning, helping you to wake up. From there, the concentration of cortisol drops slowly throughout the day, hitting a low point around the time you should be going to bed. Secondly, cortisol is produced in response to an acute stress as well. So for example, if you were attacked by a bear or a lion, it's kind of an extreme example, I know, but let's say you'd be in fight or flight mode. The way you respond, I mentioned this yesterday on a podcast I was on. The problem is that our body and brain have not learned to distinguish the difference between serious life-threatening stresses and everyday stresses, like such as bills, kids, work, pressure. So these are certain things that can often be under the same umbrella because of the way we process things. So that's what I'm kind of diving into today. I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. Sometimes overtraining could be it, or under recovering. Now think about that for a second. When we want to train, we think of health and everything, but you can add stress, good stress, bad stress to your body. And that's why the importance of sleep in the domino system that I've written about before in my book, Reset, is so key to being able to sustain longevity. Now let's see if you all fall under these scenarios. I had someone earlier, I think it was Flo Galindez, who told me he wakes up multiple times. Now, if you wake up multiple times per night to, let's say, pee or go to the bathroom, and you fall back to sleep easily, it's normally seen in people who are doing high-intensity interval training, 60 to 100 minutes a day with additional stress in life. How can we solve that? Increase daily carb intake, especially post-workout. A lot of people stay away from carbs normally, but there's something for you. If you wake up 60 minutes before your intended time, that is me. I'm always up before my alarm. In the middle of the night to sleep where you have problems, the possible solution is try 30 to 40 grams of slow digesting carbs before bed. See, all these things are breaking a lot of the opinions that we hear normally. The situation is pretty common in people that are trying to lose weight, but also seen in the early stages of people that are overreaching or overtraining. One of the things that can cause cortisol to rise earlier than we might want it to is low blood glucose levels. So your sugar levels could be low, and that could also be a factor in it. There's another one here. If you wake up multiple times and find it hard to fall asleep, you need to start decreasing your training intensity, because what's happening is it's causing stress, which is affecting your sleep. Remove calorie deficit and consider adding adaptogens. Now, what are adaptogens? It's like a herbal medicine normally you find in tea, a natural substance considered to help the body adapt to stress. How do we improve better sleep? Here we go, guys. This is what you were tuned in for. Here are a few tips to help you with one of the most important dominoes in sustaining a healthy, balanced lifestyle. Daily sunlight or artificial bright light can improve sleep quality and duration, especially if you have severe sleep issues or insomnia. Blocking blue light. What is blue light? Blue light tricks your body into thinking it's daytime. There's several ways you can reduce blue light exposure in the evening. When you watch TV, when you're looking at your phone or your computer quite a lot, try stopping that for 2 hours before you sleep, and I guarantee you will see a difference. Don't consume caffeine late in the afternoon. That's another one, especially in the evening. Several supplements, including lavender and magnesium, are very good, and they can help with relaxation and sleep quality when combined with other strategies. That's another good one. Optimize your bedroom environment by eliminating external light and noise to get better sleep. Something that I often like to do, candles or incense, really, really good. Kind of helps relax me as well, so that's a really good one. You've also got relaxation techniques such as hot baths, Epsom salt, that's always a recommendation I put in there. Meditation is another one, not in the hot bath, separately. If you're meditating, nice and clear, eyes shut. Really try to feel your breathing and breathe into the ground. That's a very good one. And those are the hacks, guys, for improving performance in sport, in life, at work, and at home, by really trying to reset your breathing, your environment, and more importantly, your sleeping patterns. Guys, stay tuned for more on the only place to be at 3, the Halftime Show on Pulse 95.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Salam and welcome back to the Halftime Show with Omar Adori. I'm your host, covering everything sport, international, local. Hope you're blessed wherever you're tuned in around the world, whether it's 95 FM, Pulse95Radio.com, YouTube, on Pulse 95 Radio. You know, now I'm conscious because I have a friend in London who says, Omar, why'd you call it the YouTube? Makes me sound like an uncle. On the YouTube channel, Pulse 95 Radio, we're live streaming now, and you can also catch us 24 hours later, the whole show if you've missed it. Couple of questions coming my way. So happy that we have some fantastic people tuned in on the Instagram live, including my guest who's going to be on the show on Saturday, Rawda Al-Mansouri, who is... I'll tell you the story about Rawda, right? So, a good friend of ours, a mutual friend, who's a listener of the show. I haven't actually met him in real life, but he listens to the show, and he's actually now listening to us while he's working out at the gym. So shout out to Fahad. He said to me, listen, coach, I know we don't really know each other, but I think this person would be great for your show. I said, no problem, Fahad, send me her profile and I'll give her a call. So I had a look at the profile, sent it through to my team, my lovely Pulse 95 Radio team, Christina and co, and just for approvals. And then I spoke to her. Now, when I started speaking to her, it was supposed to be a 5-minute chat, because normally the process behind the scenes is I actually speak to someone and kind of see where they're at. And if we vibe, you know, maybe a couple of minutes, maybe 6 minutes, an hour and a half. we were on the phone. Now I was listening. I was just listening to her story. I was asking her questions. We could have done a show then and there, but it was so nice to see someone out there, you know, genuinely inspiring. Her story is remarkable. Make sure you tune in Saturday 3 to 4 on the only place to be at 3, the Halftime Show. We had a few questions. I'm wrapping up quickly now. We are reaching full time, but we had a few questions coming in. Best free agent this summer for the Newcastle segment that we did earlier: Cavani, Chiellini, Mario Götze, Joe Hart, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Dries Mertens from Napoli, almost forgot that, Thiago Silva, Willian, and Vertonghen. There you go. Okay, what would your starting lineup be for Newcastle? Love that question. Okay, who did I say? I said Pope in goal, Aarons, Lascelles, Mings, Ake. That would be my 4 at the back. St. Maximum, Ndidi, Grealish, Longstaff, Memphis Depay. Yep, that's a long shot. And then Cavani up front. Boom. That's that would be my my thing. What's coming up? Saturday, 3 to 4. Make sure you tune in. Raud Al Mansouri is going to be on the show. UAE handball player, referee, coach, and life coach as well will be on the show. We are approaching full time on the halftime show. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. I know I've had a great time with you guys. Thank you so much for keeping the spirits up. Thank you for everyone who's tuned in. I love you guys. And I will be back on Saturday on the only place to be at 3, the halftime show on Pulse 95. Actually, we've got a couple more people throwing in. Shout out to Hamoudi all the way from the UK as well, jumping in. Hamoudi, where you been, man? You're late, bro. Don't worry, you can catch the show tomorrow or even on the podcast, SoundCloud, Apple, Spotify, and Rami, the works. But if you do like to see things on YouTube, you can check it out on the YouTube on Pulse 95 Radio. The show will be up on there. The Adhan is approaching now. Sending you all the blessings, best energy in the world. I hope you have an incredible day, and I'll see you soon, guys. Stay blessed. Peace.
The heart of Sharjah. The heart of Sharjah. Pulse 95.